Spoilers! Yep, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is finishing up its opening weekend, so let's talk some spoilers about the movie. And in case you haven't figured it out yet, that is a spoiler warning for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. If you haven't seen it yet, you should probably go watch it before watching this video. Just saying. Unless you just don't care, in which case, hey, welcome. Before I dive into this movie though, I just want to ask, is anyone else playing Jurassic World Alive? Because I've been playing it for like almost a month now. It's kind of addicting. I mean, it's Pokemon Go with dinosaurs. You go around collecting dinosaurs and battling with dinosaurs. That's cool. I'm just saying. Alright, let's dive into the movie. And speaking of diving, that's pretty much how the movie starts out, with a couple of like deep sea, they're not diving, they're in a submarine type thing. They find the remains of the Indominus Rex down there. It's a skeleton. Was anyone else reminded of the Basilisk skeleton in Deathly Hallows Part 2? But it's this corporation, they obtain one of the bones from the Indominus Rex skeleton, and then there's this awesome intense scene right in the beginning where the guy is trying to escape on the helicopter, the T-Rex is coming after him, which you see on one of the posters, but then just like the bottom part of the ladder just comes off and looks like the guy gets away. But right there I remembered, I think it was in like one of the TV spots, and I was like, oh wait, no, the Mosasaur comes up from the water and gets him, and that's what happened. That Mosasaur has a tendency to show up like the Kool-Aid Man, just out of nowhere, like a Deus Ex Machina kind of thing. I could hear him when he came out of the water to chomp that guy, he was like, oh yeah! So then it goes to that news report which explains at least the premise of the first part of the movie, which is the volcano on the island of Isla Nublar is going to explode, so should we save the dinosaurs? And Ian Malcolm from the original Jurassic Park, played by Jeff Goldblum, he comes in to do a testimony. First off, I just want to say that line where he says, oh, God's not part of the equation, made so much sense to me considering all of his lines from the original Jurassic Park about how Mother Nature is like the almighty power here, and how he calls Discovery the rape of the natural world. It just makes sense to me that he would be an atheist, and that this volcano going off is nature's way of correcting the mistake that we humans made by inventing genetic re-engineering or whatever it's called. Basically, he wants all those dinosaurs to die because he's probably still having traumatic memories. Then it jumps to Claire. She has formed the DPG, the Dinosaur Protection Group, and there we meet Franklin Webb and Zia Rodriguez. I never even mentioned her in my review. First off, she's extremely cute, but she calls herself a paleo veterinarian. She's like a doctor for these dinosaurs, I guess, and they're trying to get sponsors to help them protect the dinosaurs. Claire gets called over to the Lockwood estate, which is pretty much where the second and third acts of the movie take place, and she meets up with Benjamin Lockwood, played by James Cromwell. Apparently this man knew John Hammond back in the day. John Hammond is the original mind who dreamt up Jurassic Park. You know that already. Apparently they brought dinosaurs out of extinction together as friends, but eventually something split them up. We'll get to what that is later. And we also meet Eli Mills, who later turns out to be the main antagonist of the film. He's played by Rafe Spall, and for the longest time during the movie, I was like, that guy looks familiar. I know him from something. He's not Guy Pearce from the beginning of Iron Man 3, but I know him from something. And then towards the end of the movie, I was like, oh! He was Milburn in Prometheus. He was that dumb guy who wanted to reach out and touch that little alien worm thing. That's what I knew him from. But basically, he wants to bring back all these dinosaurs so he can sell them to make money. And we need to get Blue back. Blue is the last Velociraptor ever. And when Eli's talking to Claire about this, he's like, we think you know someone who could help with this. We as an audience were like, oh man, so she's gonna have to meet up with Owen Grady again. I really like how at first, Owen Grady doesn't give a shit about saving these dinosaurs. He's actually being a smart human being for once. Yeah, he may have been attached to the Velociraptors as they were growing up, but now these dinosaurs are gonna die. He's gonna move on with his life. He doesn't care. I don't know why, I just like that. But then eventually, after watching footage of him with the young Velociraptors, he changes his mind, and so he goes with them to the island. So when they get to the island, they meet this guy Wheatley, which made me think of Wheatley from Portal 2, but I never cared about this character at all. He's like the new Hoskins from the last Jurassic World, except for some odd reason he collects dinosaur teeth. That does nothing for the movie at all. It serves no purpose whatsoever. Like, if this guy wasn't in the movie at all, the movie would be no different. But when the crew is looking at this rundown, decrepit park, first of all, that's when you hear the rundown, decrepit theme, the Michael Giacchino theme. I was like, oh man, that's just feels right there. And then the Brachiosaurus comes stomping up. I'm like, oh man. Brachiosaurus is one of my favorite dinosaurs. I'm not sure if it was the largest sauropod there was. Definitely one of the largest for sure. I mean, with the crest on its head, that thing just looks awesome. I love Brachiosaurus. But then they do eventually find Blue again, and Blue gets shot, like actually with a pistol. I mean, a trank first, then a pistol, and the audience was like, oh. And then Wheatley tranks Owen. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? But then Zia just grabs the pistol. She's like, you gotta let me save Blue. I was like, I thought this chick was a doctor. Why is she trying to be a badass all of a sudden? Bad writing. That was mixed tones right there. It didn't gel really smoothly for me. But the suspense, like I said, was really good. Like the scene where Claire and Franklin Webb, they're in that lab and the lava's coming in with the baryonics closing in on them. That scene was intense as all hell. When Franklin's climbing up the ladder, he's like, yeah, all right, we did it. And then the ladder slides down. I mean, it's movie 101. You'd never say, yeah, I did it, unless you see the monster or whatever is actually dead or defeated or whatever. Otherwise, you haven't actually gotten away yet. That is a really close call. The baryonics almost gets a hold of his foot, but they do get out of there. So now they're all just running from the volcano. It's going off. It's a big chase. All the dinosaurs are running. That Carnotaur's got no arms though. Just saying. So the 11 dino species are saved. And like we're leaving the island, you see the Brachiosaurus is like, no, help me, I'm gonna die. I mean, I guess that scene's supposed to be sad. Ish. I mean, the only reason I felt sad at all, and it was even just a little bit, was because Brachiosaurus is one of my favorite dinosaurs. But I feel like no one else felt sad in that scene. So that's the end of the first act. Second act picks up, we meet Toby Jones as Mr. Eversol, who is working with Eli Mills. They're gonna sell and weaponize these dinosaurs. They're gonna hold them for auction, including a new hybrid they're calling the Indoraptor. I was like, okay, we're actually gonna see Hoskins' goal from the last movie come to fruition. These dinosaurs are gonna get sold to whoever to be weaponized for whatever reason. But the scene where Blue is on the gurney and like the main characters are all around him, I looked this up. That is actually a real animatronic velociraptor, which is really impressive because that thing's moving a lot more than any of the other animatronics in the original Jurassic Park were. I do like how there were a lot of animatronics that were used in this movie, like the scene where Owen and Claire are in that cage with the T-Rex. A lot of that was, again, an animatronic T-Rex. Really impressive. And it looked good too. So they get the blood from the T-Rex to, I guess, save Blue. I don't know how blood from another dinosaur is going to save Blue, but it does. I think they explained it in the movie, but I didn't hear it. Blue is so special that we had to save her because you see in like the older footage, which is completely unrealistic by the way, when Blue is cuddling up like next to Owen Grady, I was like, no, raptors would not do that, no. I don't care how attached you are, you're an eating machine, you're a dinosaur. You would not cuddle up next to a sack of meat. You would take a chomp at the first sign of weakness, like the other raptor did. That was a few points off for me. I was like, that's just corny as all hell. So the corporation is moving forward with this auction and the new hybrid, and yeah, guess what? Dr. Wu is back, and he's also in on the creation of the Indoraptor. He's pretty much an antagonist as well at this point, which is cool. Like, he went from being in like one scene in the original Jurassic Park, and now he has a bigger part in these Jurassic World movies, as like the man behind the science of creating these new dinosaurs. I think that's really cool. That is character evolution. But when Benjamin Lockwood finds out what this corporation is actually doing, Eli Mills is like, yeah, you know what? Good night, and he just stuffs the pillow on him. I'm like, ooh, that's dark. And his granddaughter Maisie finds out a little more about what she actually is. She sees that picture of like her and her mother, who's like the exact same like copy and paste kind of face. And as an audience, we were like, is she a human clone? What's going on here? So now this auction is going on, and Owen and Claire and Maisie, they're all locked up in the jail cell, but not to worry. That one dinosaur I thought was a Pachycephalosaurus, but it's actually a Stygimoloch. The Stygimoloch busts them out of there, and then it gets to the point where it disrupts the entire auction and it ends the thing. About halfway through when they brought out the Indoraptor in the cage, which the Indoraptor is actually sold at one point. They actually make a sale. I was like, dumb. You don't sell that thing. It's way too dangerous. Like they said, it's a prototype. Doesn't matter how much money you might make off of it, it's a prototype. You don't sell it yet. That's business 101, dude. But it doesn't matter because after everyone's gone, Wheatley comes back in. This scene was so funny. We were all laughing. Wheatley comes back in. He's like, I want my bonus. I'm like, this guy's gonna die. He walks up to the cage. This is the scene I was talking about in my review. He walks up to the cage. He's like, oh, look at this one. She's a beaut. He tranks this Indoraptor. He opens the cage and walks in. We were all like, this guy's gonna die beautifully. And he tries to take one of its teeth, but it's hilarious. You see the tail come up behind him. You see her eye open. This Indoraptor is like smiling at him. You can tell like in her head, she's thinking, this is gonna be an awesome meal. I don't know. It was just hilarious. I mean, this guy Wheatley is a dumbass, so he had it coming. And then when the Indoraptor bites off his arm, I literally said this out loud. I can't believe I said this out loud. I said, bon appetit. Yep, that is one bad pun. I stand by it. I take after Michael Giacchino. But you know, for once, I would like to see the actual mauling of a guy. I don't want to see it just like cut to another scene or cut to black. I want to see a guy get torn in half or something. I want to see the bloody violence, but I know these movies are rated PG-13, so we won't get to Game of Thrones levels of violence. I don't know, I guess it's just me wanting more. But then Mills does reveal the truth about what Maisie actually is. She is a human clone of her mother. And that's where I was like, whoa, the Jurassic franchise is going here into human cloning. I don't know how far the cloning process has actually come in the real world, in our world. I think we have cloned animals before. I'm pretty sure we have. I don't know if we've cloned human beings yet, though. But in the Jurassic franchise, the technology has come that far. That is a change that they've made in that franchise for good now. And she is the reason that Hammond and Lockwood went their separate ways. But then we get to a pretty sweet chase scene, or running scene, with the Indoraptor and Owen and Claire and Maisie. I love how when they're hiding in like one of the exhibits in this Lockwood museum thing that's downstairs, Claire's like hiding like under a log, and you see the Indoraptor's claw just dig into her leg. We were like, ooh, see, that's the kind of violence I've wanted to see. Stuff like that, we were like, ooh, you could feel it, you know? And this time, Claire is the one who plants one on Owen. Owen has to go save Maisie, who is now hiding in her room. And Claire plants one on Owen. She's like, go save her. So when the Indoraptor gets to Maisie's room, the Indoraptor is taking her sweet, sweet time. You're like, dude, just kill Maisie already. You're just standing there reaching. It's creepy, sure, and it's a very suspenseful scene, but you could have eaten Maisie like 5 times before Owen showed up. Just saying. But then it's Blue to the rescue again, just like in the last movie. Blue shows up in the nick of time, Deus Ex Machina. The Indoraptor's death is awesome. I don't care what anyone says. This is awesome. The music is way too intense, but they're on that glass rooftop and Blue just leaves at the Indoraptor. They fall through the glass. It's all in slow motion. I was like, no. And then the Indoraptor just gets impaled twice by that Triceratops skull. I was like, oh yeah! Awesome! The entire audience cheered for that. That was so badass. And then Blue jumps off and slides in the ground like Legolas. She's like, yeah, I did it. That was a much cooler death than the Indominus Rex's death in the last movie. Just saying. But then there's this hydrogen cyanide leak in the lab. The remaining dinosaurs that have survived, it is once again a choice. Do we let them live by setting them free, or do we let them die? And it's up to Claire to push the button or not push the button. I honestly did not know if she was going to push it or not. I might have guessed that she would have pressed it, because she's like, I can't let them die. Then she decides not to press it. So all these dinosaurs are gonna die. Probably a better decision if you ask me. But then it doesn't matter because Maisie presses the button for the worst possible reason. This is really bad writing, again. The reason? Because they're alive. Like me. I was like, kid, I don't know what kind of kindred connection you're feeling with these dinos, but what? Oh, they're clones just like I am. They're like me. They're not like you. That was not a good decision. Now all these dinosaurs are loose on society. So when they're coming out, this is great because this is the Mills death scene. Hilarious, again. Like all these dinosaurs are running past him and he's hiding under the truck, and you know you're just waiting for when he dies. It's gonna be awesome. He comes out from under the truck, he sees the Indominus Rex bone from the beginning of the movie. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna go get it. And then the T-Rex just snatches him up. I was like, awesome. T-Rex starts chomping on him, then the Carnotaur comes into play, and they both just share a decent meal together. And then the Indominus Rex bone is stomped on. Awesome. So cool. And yeah, now all these dinosaurs are free and they're roaming among our society now. You see the Mosasaur in the waves, you see the T-Rex at the zoo roaring at a lion. You're like, what is this next movie gonna be like? I thought the end of this movie was gonna turn into an ad for Jurassic World Alive because they were gonna be like, now it's up to you, people. You gotta wrangle up the dinosaurs now. This is gonna sound very strange, but it was like the end of Stitch the movie. I don't know if any of you have seen that, where like all the experiments get loose in Hawaii, and now we gotta wrangle up all the experiments, and that's pretty much what this next Jurassic movie is gonna be now. We gotta go find all these dinosaurs and probably capture them and put them probably on that island they were talking about in the beginning of the movie. That sanctuary island, that's probably what the premise of the third Jurassic World movie is going to be. But for now, as Ian Malcolm said, welcome to Jurassic World. It is truly Jurassic World now because human society has to live with dinosaurs now, I guess. I even like how in the shortest post-credits scene I've ever seen, the pterodons have made it to Vegas, baby. They're sitting on the Paris Hotel. I'm like, alright. I want to see dinosaurs tear up Vegas. Guys, in the end, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was dumb fun. With these movies, you don't watch it for the writing or the characters, you watch it for fun dinosaur stuff. Maybe the first Jurassic Park movie was more than that, but now it's not. They're just fun dino romps, so enjoy them for that. And I did. I don't know if it's gonna be one of my favorite movies of the year. Probably not, but I am looking forward to seeing what happens in the third Jurassic World movie, which comes out in 3 years. It's already got a release date. So here's a good question for you. What is your favorite dinosaur? Ooh, that's a good question, isn't it? Whatever it is, go ahead and leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe.